Hi, everybody. My name is Angela.
And I'm Natalie.
And we are Blondetourage, back for a series review. Episode 3 of This Is Us.
It's not This Is Us, Angela. The Last of Us. And it's titled Long, Long Time.
Yes. So let me just give you guys a little bit of a background on my feeling if this is the first time you're seeing it. So I've watched I watched the first one. I wasn't thrilled. I said I would give it another shot. I watched the second one. I was still
wait, why were you not thrilled?
Because I just felt like it's the same old zombie story.
And you fell asleep.
Well, yeah, that too. Watch the second one, and I was like, okay, it's whatever. And I said, I'm giving it one more shot. Well, I'm hooked.
Yes, you are. I'm so excited. This episode, it was phenomenal. I mean, I cannot, it was probably one of the saddest episodes I've ever seen in any show I've ever seen.
I agree.
I mean, would you agree with that?
I agree. I was sobbing like a baby.
Sobbing.
Remember when I text you?
Yeah, we'll show the text.
Yeah. I mean, I said it was 15 minutes, but it was more like a half hour. I mean, yes. Just bawling my eyes out. And you know what?
Absolutely.
We should give them a little synopsis of what episode 3 was about.
Well, IMDb says when a stranger approaches his compound, survivalist Bill forges an unlikely connection.
Later, Joel and Ellie seek Bill's guidance. But as you will come to find out, the guidance from Bill is not really from Bill personally. It's in the form of a letter. And I don't think I've ever seen a series episode that evoked so much emotion in myself. And it was funny because in the beginning, I was like, where is this going? Why did we shift gears here? And I was like, it's, I turned to Mike and I said, this is slow, a little slow. I'm not understanding where this is going. And then all of a sudden, it just all came together. And it was just such a beautiful love story. I was bored. And every time I think about it, I kind of get choked up.
Yeah. I mean, before we talk about the episode and do a little deep dive, yes, it was so sad and I cried my eyes out, but I don't know how it was so sad, but with a happy ending, kind of.
I know.
I don't know how they did that.
The writers did such a wonderful job in portraying the love story, the sadness of the deaths, but then them almost like coming together as a team. Does that make sense?
It does.
So yeah, it was intense. It was an intense episode.
So let's start out with how the episode started. The episode starts, you see Joel and Ellie making their way to what we later find out is Bill's compound.
Right.
And he's soaking his hand, obviously, from the punch that he, punched the guy out to save Ellie. He starts building rock. I think he was rock stacking, which I believe is cairns. And that has a lot of different meanings. Some hikers use it as GPS. They use it as religious tributes. And I think in this form, it was a tribute or a burial monument for Tess. And you know, at that moment, he's feeling really bad about it. And Ellie feels really bad about it. At least that's what I took away from
I took that from it too. I like the interaction of how they're kind of developing through their walk, how, you know, they're starting to, for lack of a better term, like each other, get close with each other.
Yeah, you see the barrier starting to lift a little bit. You know, she's asking more questions, and he's able to tell her about how the cordyceps infection started, and about how he flew in an airplane, and they show an airplane crash. Ellie's like, wow, you got to fly in the air. How cool is that? And we forget that the young ones never got to experience anything like that. So that was wild to her. And another way you start to see Joel, the barrier, start to lift is he wanted to protect her from what was ahead. You know, there was some
the scene where he said you don't want to go up there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you see it. He's starting to become a little bit of a yes, yes. So then that kind of shifts into a flashback, and that's most of the rest of the episode.
When you first see Bill in his basement in the bunker with all of the ammo and the guns and everything, and kind of evading what's going on up top, it's like, okay, where is this going to go? But I mean, at least for me, I thought, okay, there's going to be some sort of intense battle here. There's something in, he's gonna be blowing away zombies. He's going to be, I had no idea that he had those amazing booby traps set. They were crazy. I was like, whoa. So I didn't expect that there was going to be another person that he came into contact with. I kind of just thought it was going to be an interaction at some point with Ellie and Joel. Had no idea where this was going. And I'm glad I did.
Yes. So we meet Frank. He's in one of the booby traps, and he goes on about how he hasn't eaten and he was really hungry and can he just have a meal. So this hardened, tough Bill says yes and lets him come in. He serves him this meal on these beautiful chargers, turns the plate. It was like, wow, you don't expect it from this guy, this big tough guy. And he even comes out with the wine and pours it in a way wine should be poured.
Right, I noticed that.
Yeah,
like waiters
and
in
he's
fancy
like,
restaurants.
I know. Yeah, he's like, I know I don't look the type. And then Frank goes, yes, you do. I like that. That was so cute.
I was thinking to myself, if this happened to me in real life, if I would go to those extreme measures to make someone feel comfortable, because at first he's kind of like denying him. He had to be sort of convinced to let him eat and stay. And but then it was almost like, I don't know, he was kind of like relieved that he had someone there to talk to. And I think I probably would have reacted in the same way. I don't know, but the fact that he trusted him enough to let him stay was sort of telling, and it made me feel like he was probably very lonely.
Yeah, which is why that piano scene was so powerful. I that's where I first started crying.
Yeah, I got teary-eyed there too.
It was so obvious. Like at first I thought he was missing somebody, and that's when Frank was like, who are you singing about? A girl? And he's like, no, there is no girl. So then I was like, And then when he put his hand on his shoulder, I was like,
yeah,
almost like he could tell, And what transpired from that scene was the most beautiful and romantic love story that I've seen in a long time. And I it's funny. I remember years ago when that movie Up came out, and that first 6 minutes of Up, I thought was one of the most beautiful, romantic, loving stories I've ever seen. And this rivaled it. I mean, it was so beautiful. And didn't it feel like to you that we watched this, like we almost watched a season of these two characters?
Yes, it felt the way that they developed the characters and their interaction and the relationship together. It was almost like I watched a movie, not an episode or something. It was so well done. It was amazing.
Yes.
I know that probably everybody knows at this point that they both took their own lives, but the way that it was done was so touching. And did you think to yourself that Bill was going to take his life too? Or did you think he was just, yeah. So I was like, where is this going? And I mean, at that point, I was just full on, like the floodgates were open, and that scene, he just didn't want to live without him. And when you're in true love, when you have that bond and that happiness and that romance and that connection with somebody, why would you want to live without them and go back to just being alone? Like, and not just, you know, I mean, obviously people pass away and things happen. You have to go on and survive for your family, for your friends, for yourself. But in a world like this, where you were totally alone before, and now you're going to be totally alone afterwards, I would want to do the same thing. It was so sad, so sad.
It was the most hauntingly beautiful episode I've ever seen. I can't stop. It's embedded in my head.
Obviously, you know, now I'm going to continue watching. I flipped. I'm a fan. I hope that we still go on to see what happens with the characters and their relationships, and maybe some flashbacks to how it continued to evolve. My feelings of thinking this was just another zombie series or movie out the window. And I have a feeling that that's why they probably did this episode, because this episode doesn't follow the game. In the game, Frank was already dead. So I love that they brought this story to show what happened, because it hooked me. Well done. Well done.
It's a story I feel about relationships, and that's what I felt from the very beginning. I really didn't feel like it was a zombie flick or a zombie series. I felt like it was a story about relationships.
Very excited to see what happens this upcoming week. I can't wait. Oh, and by the way, the reason we're on Zoom right now is because I'm in Colorado, Natalie's in Florida. So we figured we didn't want to wait till we got back together. So that's why we're doing this on Zoom. Thank you so much for watching our review. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.